Hello and good afternoon to all my friends around the world from EPCOT at Walt Disney World. We're back. And speaking of friends from around the world, today we are blowing right past the whole front of the park, the old Future World portion of EPCOT, and heading out to the World Showcase. And today we're going to be finding, discovering, and rediscovering different EPCOT secrets from around the world, or should I say World Showcase, where 11 pavilions surround the World Showcase Lagoon, each one themed out to a different country. And we're going to start right here with Mexico, peeking into some sneaky little trivia and secrets for each one of them. At least that's the plan. Will I succeed? Will I fail? We are about to find out. Secret number one of the Mexico Pavilion, standing outside of it right now. You can see this staircase in the front does not extend all the way to the very top of the pyramid. That's on purpose. This pyramid right here is sort of a combination of different Mayan and Aztec pyramids in Mexico, 2 Mayan temples in the Yucatan, and 1 Aztec temple that was located in what's now Mexico City. And this sort of fusion between those 3 temple designs here at EPCOT has its incomplete staircase, because in real Mesoamerican cultures, the fully functional staircase that led to a flat area on top was considered a sacred space for rituals, meaning those pyramids were actually temples. And here at EPCOT, it was felt by the Imagineers who built this that by not completing the staircase, by not having it go all the way to the top and being fully functional, you kind of dodge replicating a sacred site in a theme park setting. Also, speaking of the staircase, running up either side of it, you'll notice these heads here, these feathered serpent heads. That's Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god. And that is a direct reference to the temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. That's one of the most famous Mayan temples of them all in the Yucatan, where during the spring and fall equinoxes, shadows create the illusion of a serpent slithering down the pyramid's stairs. And although I'm sure Mexico's EPCOT pyramid is not perfectly astrologically aligned to recreate that effect, they've still got Kukulkan right out here, leading you up the staircase, the incomplete staircase at Mexico here in EPCOT. And yes, there are staircases on the sides as well, and those aren't complete either. They don't reach the very top, and they don't reach the very bottom, which hasn't stopped some over-enthusiastic food and wine festival attendees from disobeying this sign. Shh, we won't talk about that. Now, inside of the Mexico pyramid here at EPCOT, you'll find this entrance to the Plaza de los Amigos. And down inside the pavilion, where it's always perpetual twilight, you've got another epic Mexican pyramid out there, right past the entrance of the Grand Fiesta Tour, the Three Caballeros boat ride that, unfortunately, at the moment is closed. But right next door to the pyramid, look at that. There's this perpetually rumbling and erupting volcano up there. You can just see the lava at the tip of it, and there's this plume of smoke and steam constantly rising out of there. Well, it's an old EPCOT secret that supposedly in the smoke from the volcano, you can spot a hidden Mickey. Now, can you see that in that smoke right there? As for me, I'm not always convinced. When it comes to hidden Mickeys, I think people go hidden Mickey crazy to the point where anything even remotely resembling a shape that kind of resembles 3 circles becomes a hidden Mickey. The smoke hidden Mickey is a long cherished secret. I mean, I think I see it right there. I think I see what people are talking about. You'll have to let me know if you think this one's real or just in the heads of people who've gone hidden Mickey crazy out here. I don't know about that one for sure. I do know that there are other hidden Mickeys located on the boat ride itself, which unfortunately, like I said, is closed for the duration of my trip out here. Seems like our first pavilion, Mexico, is being a little difficult. It's not going to give up all its secrets so easily today. But when it comes to secret hidden Mickeys in Mexico, there is one surefire hidden Mickey right inside La Cava del Tequila, the tequila bar inside of the Mexico Pavilion. And you gotta go all the way to the back inside of the bar, and then over this big table you see these barrels up here. Hard to see with the lighting, it's dark in there, but there is a hidden Mickey right there on the barrel. Now that is a true hidden Mickey right there, a 100% hidden Mickey. Keep in mind, though, that to get in to see that hidden Mickey, you may have to wait in a queue. The La Cava del Tequila bar is a very, very popular choice. All right, moving on. We are now going to leave our amigos in Mexico and keep moving around the World Showcase Lagoon. That's one country down and just 10 more to go. Oh boy, is it beautiful out here today. All right, leaving the pyramid behind, we have now reached the outskirts of our next country, and that would be the country of Norway, where the very first thing you'll notice, and it hits you right in the face, is this epic replica of a stave church, a wooden church, modeled exactly after a real-life Norwegian stave church, which I've always heard pronounced as the Gul stave church, built in the 12th century, just shortly after the Vikings converted to Christianity. And not only is the EPCOT version a scale replica of the real stave church, but as much as possible, it was all constructed out of real wood using the same techniques that the Viking woodworkers would have used themselves. And among the amazing wood carvings all over and inside of this structure, you have those traditional carved Norse dragons, which are said to ward off evil spirits. Now, ironically, like I said, stave churches were built by the same guys that would have been building Viking ships right after the Vikings converted to Christianity, but inside of this stave church, you have tributes to the pagan gods of the Vikings. Look at this. Check this out in here. You've got displays about Odin, Thor, Loki. Look at this tree in the center here. That is a carving of Thor right there. Here's Freya right here, the goddess of love. You got Odin right there, and of course Loki, the trickster god. So the secret of the stave church is it's been desecrated with pagan idols. I love the Norway Pavilion because it's full of so many little historical details, like the fact that they went the extra mile to include real sod roofs because, of course, the Vikings did traditionally use sod roofs to insulate their homes. In fact, animals could graze on the roofs of their houses. There's just so many. And all the way in the back of the Norway Pavilion, of course, they have the world's first ever frozen attraction, Frozen Ever After, that replaced a really truly bizarre attraction called Maelstrom. And just over here to the left, the Maelstrom boat ride used to have an opening in it, so the boats would actually come up to this opening over here above this waterfall, so you could sort of peek out at EPCOT on your journey through Norway. And in this waterfall, just over here behind this section on the right, is perhaps the most difficult World Showcase secret to spot. There is a hidden sword in there. I mean, literally dead center of your screen, there is a sword behind the waterfall, kind of worked into the rock, a sword in the stone, if you will. I mean, with the water turned on, it is almost literally impossible to spot, but it's back there. If you look for long enough through the water, it's holding still. You'll see the blade of the sword in there. It's kind of incredible that's still there. It's sort of a nod now to the original Maelstrom Viking attraction. Almost like someone on one of those old Viking boats dropped their sword and it's been in the waterfall ever since. It's so bizarre because Norway has been here since the 80s. And yet the secret is, this is actually the most recent pavilion expansion in EPCOT. The Norway Pavilion opened in June of 1988, 6 years after EPCOT itself opened. And although there have been rumors for decades that they're going to get more countries added to the World Showcase, so far, Norway is the newest. Now in 2016, when they added the Frozen Ever After ride that replaced Maelstrom here at the Norway Pavilion, they also added this, the Anna and Elsa meet and greet in the Royal Summer House. Wait, it's Norway, it might be Sommerhus. And when they added this Royal Summer House and meet and greet here, they also placed these giant rune stones outside, some of which are direct recreations of ones from scenes in the Maelstrom attraction itself. And look at this right here. That's a nice nod to Maelstrom. Look at that Viking ship right here in front of the summer house itself. Now, I learned the secret of these rune stones being recreations from Maelstrom from Imagineer Zach Ridley's Instagram. It's always nice to hear from Imagineers and creatives who have worked from Disney, so you actually know this is a real secret and not just like one of those hidden Mickeys that might only be in your head kind of thing. It's an amazing tribute to Maelstrom in and of itself that some of the carvings from Maelstrom were recreated out here, but I think the best one is located between the strollers here, just in front of the summer Hammerhus. It's this inscription that says, "You are not the first to pass this way, nor will you be the last. Those who seek the spirit of Norway face peril and adventure, but more often find beauty and charm." And that is incredible because that is a direct quote from the narration on Maelstrom itself, which I only got to ride once back in 2010. Still by far the weirdest attraction I have ever been on. All right, I'm getting carried away. There's so much to say about Mexico, so much to say about Norway. That's only 2 out of 11 countries. There's still 9 to go. We better pick up the pace. So, moving on to China over here. Boy, look at that pavilion. Absolutely incredible. Now, this is a replica of the Gate of the Golden Sun. It's based on the main gate of the Imperial Summer Palace in Beijing, and the beautiful Temple of Heaven back here is also modeled after a real-life temple in Beijing as well. And it may be a replica, but that is one fantastic, intricate replica. We were just standing out here the other day, and I showed you a little secret from inside the Temple of Heaven, because if you stand directly in the center of the floor, underneath this epic dome, right on this circle right here on the ground, your voice will echo from perfect acoustics. Weirdly, it works better if you're looking at the ground. Blah, 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 blah. Weird. I keep getting distracted. See, we'll never make it through all the countries at this rate. All right, what I really wanted to show you was just one simple thing, which we already walked right on by. Because right underneath the Gate of the Golden Sun right here is one of my favorite hidden Mickeys, because it's a true hidden Mickey. You see these giant lampstands right here with the carved bases? Well, look closely, because hidden within these intricate patterns are some clouds that have a very familiar shape. Can you see that? And they're located right underneath the gate, right in front of the Temple of Heaven. Now that's a set of sneaky Mickeys. Boy, I really wish they had been called sneaky Mickeys instead of hidden Mickeys. All right, if we're talking about hidden Mickeys, it should be noted that according to legend, hidden Mickeys originated with EPCOT, because the original idea of EPCOT was that it was going to exclude the classic Disney characters, and of course the Disney Imagineers were like, all right, we'll find a way to sneak them in. That's why sneaky Mickeys would have been perfect. All right, continuing our world tour of World Showcase secrets over here. Have you ever wondered why this area between the official country pavilions of China and Germany over there has got all this African theming? You have the refreshment outpost over here with your frozen slushy cokes. There's African music playing out here. You've got the Amani Village Trader shops and the wood carving stand. There are 2 cast members from Kenya out here hand carving wooden animals and hand stringing up beaded jewelry. It's almost like a weird little African walkway on your way between China and Germany. It doesn't appear to have an official name. It's sort of referred to as Little Africa. I think on the maps it used to just say Outpost or the Outpost, I forget. Anyway, this area is here because originally they had planned on building an Equatorial Africa pavilion over here, but they were never quite able to pull it off, mostly due to funding. So like Norway, for example, had 11 Norwegian companies plus the Norwegian government sponsoring the building of that pavilion. And Morocco, which I hope we'll get to, was paid for pretty much by the Moroccan government. I guess they were never able to pull together quite enough sponsorships or quite enough funding. Never able to pull together the resources to build it. So there's no Equatorial Africa pavilion in EPCOT today, but we do have the Outpost, almost as a little secret tribute to an idea that never quite came together. Oh my gosh, we haven't even made it halfway around the World Showcase yet, but at least we've made it to Germany. Yeah! Now, Germany isn't an exact replica of any one place in Germany. It's more of a hodgepodge, sort of like the temple in Mexico, but obviously a lot of work went into making the details and the architecture authentic. So like the castle elements are inspired by Rheinstein Castle. The beer garden restaurant's facade was modeled after Bavarian beer halls and partially after the Hofbräuhaus in Munich. And the best and most frustrating secret of the Germany Pavilion. The Germany Pavilion was originally planned to house an attraction, a boat ride, a Rhine River cruise boat ride. You would have seen the Black Forest, Bavarian villages, Neuschwanstein Castle, the inspiration for the castle at Disneyland, the original Disneyland castle, industrial Ruhr Valley, Germany. And in fact, this building back here that is now basically just the entrance to the Beer Garden restaurant, which is located over there inside of that giant castle building, would have also contained the entrance to the Rhine River cruise, which would have been right through this archway here. And in fact, I'm told that back in the 80s there were big wooden doors here right through this archway to where the show building was eventually going to be constructed, and they later had to be covered up by this wall and this German mural right here. Actually, if you come up to this mural and bang on it, the whole thing echoes like it is hollow. And that's because behind this wall, a portion of the ride was built, really just the queue area, like just where the line would have been. None of the show building where the boat ride would have been. I asked a cast member what's back there, and she said, oh, just storage, I think. But that, I think, is far and away the best EPCOT World Showcase secret, especially of the Germany Pavilion, that there were large wooden doors here. This was the entrance to the queue for the boat ride. You would have come in right here behind this false wall, and boy, is it false. Look at the way it's all patchy. Seriously, come bang on this wall. Well, maybe thousands of us shouldn't bang on the wall, but if you're ever here and you happen to be near and you happen to bang the wall, notice how hollow it's have boom, boom, boom. Honestly, that one's so good. I think that's plenty good enough for Germany for the moment. After all, we still have quite a few countries to get to, but you know what? In between Germany back here and our next country up ahead, which is Italy, they have this little train layout over here, this little model train display, where if you look closely from time to time, you will spot the miniature trees carefully manicured into a very familiar hidden Mickey-like shape. And every once in a while, nestled among the miniature people in these villages, someone will sneak in a little miniature Disney character, like Goofy's been spotted out here. One time someone had a PVC Mickey down there. But one secret that's almost always going on, at least when there are festivals, so like currently, right now, February 2025, the Festival of the Arts is going on at EPCOT. The sort of main town square display right down here will have little tiny EPCOT festival flags. So right now it's Festival of the Arts. And I don't know if you can spot that, but there are Festival of the Arts flags on those lampposts. I've been hunting for that little hidden Goofy. I'm not sure he's still here anymore, but there's another little secret right here in the miniature train area. In fact, a double whammy. Right in the back there, there is not one, but there are two miniature replicas of the train station from the Disney film so dear to my heart, that was later replicated again as the original Frontierland station at Disneyland. The one that today in New Orleans Square is still located across the tracks, where you can hear the telegraph operator tapping out that message. And why there are two of them and why they are right next to each other down along that track, I have no idea. But if you know your Disney history, you'll know that if the Walt Disney Company all started with a mouse, the parks definitely all started with Walt Disney's love of trains. So this miniature railway out here, having hidden Mickeys and hidden characters and hidden buildings referencing Walt Disney's work and achievements, is amazing. All right, well, we've now made it to Italy. We're almost halfway. And you can see on the side, facing out to the World Showcase Lagoon, sort of the recreations of the Venice canals. There's a gondola down there. And much like Germany, the craziest secret of the Italy Pavilion is that it was originally going to house more attractions, specifically a gondola dark ride. You'll notice it's a little bare when you come into Italy, right? You have a few shops, a few restaurants, you can buy some fine wines. If you look around here, not only are there no rides to go on in the Italy Pavilion, you'll notice that unlike other pavilions, it sort of leads you back to nowhere. In fact, before 2010, even that restaurant back there, Via Napoli, wasn't there. There was just sort of a wall coming off this fountain here. Just a random wall that it dead-ended into. Not to mention this entire blank side of the pavilion. It still feels off balance even today in 2025. That's because as they were running out of time and money to build EPCOT, they sort of scrapped their original plans to have buildings all along this section and then have that gondola dark ride. Not to mention, when you think of Italy, what do you think if you think of Rome? Ancient Rome in particular. And there was also going to be a Roman ruins walkthrough attraction that I think would have been really cool that just never ended up happening. There was always meant to be a phase 2 that never quite materialized. They eventually did expand the land just a little bit. I mean, not too far, to include, you know, some restaurants and things back here. But I think the Italy Pavilion really still has a long ways to go. It would have been cool to see what an Italian dark ride would have been back then, before they were including Disney characters. Like now, if they did something, it'd probably be Pinocchio, or maybe something from Luca. I don't know, something like that. But there you go. There's the secret of the Italy Pavilion, is that it's unfinished. That it was unfinished and sort of remains unfinished despite the small expansion they've got. You know, I'm Italian, and I'm super glad that they've got this tribute to some of my relatives here. Gosh, we can always come back and do more secrets in each one of these lands. I better boil it down to one each if we're going to make it to the end. Because look at this, we've just reached our next country, America, and it's only halfway around the World Showcase. Now, if you've ever been to EPCOT and to the World Showcase, the American Pavilion is pretty much dominated by one thing, which is the American Adventure Show inside of this big pavilion show building. I mean, there's a little restaurant off to one side, a little shop off to the other. Across the walkway up against the World Showcase Lagoon, you've got the big amphitheater for the, Disney concert series out here. You don't really see recreations of famous American landmarks. One, because you've already got Liberty Square in the Magic Kingdom. And two, because, well, we're standing in America, right? But inside of the deceptively massive American Adventure Show building, designed in forced perspective to, of course, appear much smaller than it actually is. I mean, that second-story window up there is way up there. There are normally several hidden Mickeys hidden in paintings on the walls, but now in 2025, they have the Portraits in Courage exhibit. These are tributes to United States veterans painted by George W. Bush. So you are looking at actual paintings from a U.S. president, which is pretty cool and a secret because nobody ever comes in here and looks at that. Well, I shouldn't say nobody, but you know what I mean. People pass by this like, oh, the next show isn't for a while. I don't know if I'm gonna go in there, and then they're missing out on portraits painted by a living U.S. president. And love them or hate them, U.S. presidents are a big part of history. There's also a strange effect where if you stand right in the center of the room, right underneath the dome here in the rotunda, you can actually hear what everybody else in every other part of the room is saying. So if you're waiting in the lobby to see American Adventure, be very careful what you're whispering to your spouse or your partner or your friends next to you. The secret of the American Adventure is that's the place where if you're standing in the center of the room, secrets are revealed. All right, moving on from the America Pavilion over to America's best friend, Japan. I'm gonna keep this one very easy and simple because Japan is built with so many replicas of traditional and historic architecture. The secrets of this pavilion are many. Some require quite a bit of lengthy explanation, and others are just darn difficult to pronounce. It's one of my favorite pavilions in the World Showcase. It's so well done. It's easily Allie's favorite pavilion. She's still here, by the way. She's just running around with one of her friends, checking out pavilions and having girl time. My other favorite thing about Japan, not that I'm a huge hidden Mickey guy all the time, is that it has absolutely one of the easiest hidden Mickeys to find in the whole park if you know where to look. You simply walk in to the main pavilion over here, and on your left, right below this restaurant, you're going to have the sort of ground level koi pond. Now there are streams and waterfalls leading you all the way up to that restaurant up there, the Katsura Grill, but literally right down here at the bottom, right in front of the sign explaining what koi are, very mutated carp over here, there's a little drainage vent. You have to lean out kind of far to see it, but right down there on that little metal grate is a hidden Mickey. All right, if you flip it upside down, it's a little bit easier to see. It's better oriented that way, but there it is. Dude, and that is a hidden Mickey, even though it's like right in plain sight. It's right by the sign. Super easy to find, right from the main walkway into the land. So many people take pictures of the koi, stare at the koi. I've watched some stare at the koi for like 20 or 30 minutes even. And nobody notices that little vent because you have to lean out just a little extra to see it. Behind that greenery, look at that thing. Hidden Mickey! I'm not always impressed with hidden Mickeys, but that is a good one. See, the thing is, you don't need to be a Disney expert to have the maximum amount of fun at Walt Disney World or other Disney theme parks. In fact, I think if anything, it probably hurts more than it helps. I mean, does anybody have more fun than the person that comes here for the first time? It's like, what is all of this? But it is kind of a fun challenge to walk around and see how many secrets you either know or can remember or rediscover. And if you're here for long enough, if you've done all the rides and done all the basic stuff, then it is really fun looking for little hidden Mickeys and tributes and little historical details. And for me, I love days of complete randomness where you set out and you have absolutely no idea what you're going to do that day, but I also like days where there's a little MacGuffin, right? Something, some excuse to wander around and have an adventure. My excuse today is finding those little secrets of each one of the World Showcase pavilions. This is one of my favorites right here, this sort of hidden Mickey made out of these Moroccan metal plates. It's just that today, I had no idea it would take this many hours. Not only have I run into a heck of a lot of you guys today out here. They're like, hey man, I watched the channel, which has been awesome. I keep getting distracted and totally sucked in by how amazing each one of these pavilions are. They're full of awesome merch, incredible details, secret tributes. Now the main thing that makes the Morocco pavilion so special and so different from any of the other pavilions here is that it was the only one fully funded by its namesake country. In fact, King Hassan II of Morocco sent his own artists and craftsmen, so real Moroccan artisans, to work on this pavilion to ensure its authenticity. And one of the coolest little details in EPCOT Morocco is an old Islamic tradition preserved right here in this pavilion at Walt Disney World of every intricate piece of artwork intentionally having flaws either carved into it or created in it, because only God can create perfection. It's kind of fun walking around the EPCOT version of Morocco with that in mind and looking for those intentionally created flaws in some of the plaster work and some of the mosaics. One of my favorite examples of this is the first one I ever saw. It was pointed out to me by my friend Keith. It's right in here inside of the Fez house, where you can see all this ornate plaster work and sort of carvings here inside of this recreated courtyard. It's a recreation of the courtyards in a traditional Moroccan home. If you look around long enough, you'll find all kinds of little spots where the artists and craftsmen perfectly did their work and then went back at the end and chipped a little bit away with a hammer because of that old tradition. Only God can create perfection. Oh gosh, man, this is so hard because each one of these pavilions has so many things. It could be 2 or 3 videos. Oh man, I was trying to make it all the way around the World Showcase and talk about all these secrets before the sunset, which I no longer think is realistic. I think I started a little too late. Also, I just realized why I was starting to feel kind of worn down and tired, and my brain was starting to go, I haven't eaten all day, I need to get some food. But before I do that, while we still have some of this beautiful fading sunlight, let's go over to France. Now, unlike Morocco that was added in 1984, France was an opening day 1982 pavilion, and as you can see for yourself, is still one of the most popular to hang out in. And it's kind of cool. In addition to having its miniature 1/10 scale Eiffel Tower, it's only about 103 feet tall, something like that. The secret of the France pavilion is that you have different styles of architecture from all over the city of Paris, specifically sort of the late 19th century Haussmann style architecture over here near the promenade. You can see the mansard roofs. You can see the early 20th century influence with the Art Nouveau style. There's an arcade, a covered walkway, just like you have in the real city of Paris, where we've been and filmed many times. And then back here, you have additional side streets, little cozy winding streets meant to remind you of Montmartre, which is sort of the artist bohemian area, just sort of to the northwest and the corner of what's now modern day Paris. Having been to Paris, I can tell you it's sort of a little bit of a Fantasyland version of the city because it does not smell quite like the real Paris. So you have sort of a mix of things that are realistic and nods to real places, like Les Halles was a real marketplace in Paris, and so you can see the name right there. It's not an exact replica or anything, but you sort of have the spirit of what it is people like about the real Paris, France here. It's also got a great tribute to one of my favorite things found in the real life Paris, because out here over against the World Showcase Lagoon, they have some of these. These are the bouquinistes, found up and down the River Seine, specifically over near the Cathedral of Notre-Dame de Paris. You know, Quasimodo's house, and the bouquinistes have been around forever. What they are is little sort of bookshops built into these stalls along the river. It's been a book market since medieval times, and they're supposed to sell sort of used old books, but they end up selling some sort of posters and souvenir things as well, and guide maps, stuff like that. Nowadays, that's where in Paris you'll find all the sort of Chinese knockoffs of paintings. They're printed on canvas. They look like they're real paintings. But occasionally you'll run into real artists along the river that are painting in plain air right in front of you. And it's cool that they have these tributes to the bouquinistes right out here. I just wish these would unlock and I could buy French Mickey Mouse comics like I do in the real Paris. All of that is cool. All of that is great. But all of that is the old original opening day France Pavilion. But let's not forget that on Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, October 1st, 2021, the France Pavilion's expansion opened up with some even more authentic Parisian details. And more importantly, for those who found the sort of faux French fanciness of the main pavilion boring for all these years, a new ride, Remy's Ratatouille adventure. Yes, a copy of a ride that was already located in one of the parks in France, but still an absolutely fantastic and welcome and perfect addition to France in EPCOT. And it has some of that sort of a hand-drawn, kind of sketchy, kind of crooked architecture that Pixar captured so well in Ratatouille. And also some new hidden Mickeys. I'm not even gonna bother going inside the ride. There's some we can look at right out here. Look at this, right above these signs for the single rider line, the lightning lane line, and the standby line. You will see little Mickey-shaped ironwork right there on the bottom, flanking either side of the signs you're meant to look at. And this clock right here for the lightning lane. I kind of love that the hidden Mickeys and little details and hidden things from the past were often kind of snuck in by Imagineers being cheeky or just sort of put in there for a little extra detail on the sly. And now it's become such a thing to go to Disney parks and look for little hidden secrets and characters. You know, parents will have the hidden Mickey's books and have their kids looking all over for hidden Mickeys. But in all the new areas of the parks, they seem to add many more Easter eggs than they ever used to do in the past, which means now you're looking for all kinds of characters from your favorite Disney films. You're keeping an eye open for references to characters and scenes from those films everywhere. And rather than going insane trying to see hidden characters where they really aren't meant to be, you get much more obvious tributes to your favorite characters hidden right in plain sight. Like, look at this. There's Remy from Ratatouille climbing up the drain pipe to meet up with Emile, who looks like he's found himself a little tasty snack up there. That's the kind of thing they're doing more and more of in the Disney parks that I really appreciate, especially for families with kids. It's so fun to go hunting for little characters and Easter eggs all over the place, little murals. Some of them are seasonal, some of them are meant for festivals and things. It just sort of keeps things fresh for the kind of guest that wants to go on those little Disney treasure hunts, whether that's for kids who want to see their favorite Disney character while their parents are admiring old school French architecture tributes, or the old school Disney World fan who thought he knew every secret of the parks but has to continually keep hunting for more. Now, Remy and Emile are part of the chock full of characters, temporary installations that are put up all over the World Showcase and all over EPCOT for the Festival of the Arts. Which is exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. You're looking around for hidden Mickeys and you're like, I've never seen that Emile before. It's kind of fun trying to spot that stuff every year at the different festivals, but the Remy and Emile, personally, I think should be permanent. It's cool seeing a little scale, or correct to scale version of those characters running around that land. Whew. Part of the reason this took so long today is I didn't realize it was Friday. It is more packed in EPCOT than I was expecting, and I'm fading a little bit now. So even though we only have 2 more country pavilions to go, I am starving. I'm gonna go get some grub and catch up with you after the sun sets. Because as beautiful as it is out here right now, and boy howdy is it gorgeous, it's hard to appreciate beauty when you're starving. Oh my gosh, and just like that, I'm fed and watered and feel about 1,000% better. That's the problem with me in Disney World. I get so overstimulated, I literally forget to eat and drink. Also, I chose the worst possible day for this particular quest. The crowds have been great so far the entire week that we've been here. And then of course today I want to quest to all the lands. I picked Friday, the most crowded day I've seen in any park the entire week. Well, that's what makes it an adventure. You never know what you're gonna get out here. Whew. Traveling around the world requires a lot more legwork than I remembered. Well, all right guys, we're back on the quest, and look at this. We ended up in Harry Potter land. Oh no, I'm just kidding. Welcome to EPCOT's UK Pavilion. Look at this. It's the United Kingdom! There are a lot of secrets involved with the UK Pavilion, like this right here. The tea caddy, this little thatch roof structure, represents Tudor architecture of the 1500s and is based on, well, loosely based on or modeled on Anne Hathaway's childhood home. No, not that Anne Hathaway. I'm talking about William Shakespeare's wife, Anne Hathaway. Her childhood home still exists, and it's the place she lived before marrying William Shakespeare in 1582. So the perfect place to get inspiration for that sort of Tudor architecture. In fact, maybe this broom right here is modeled after her childhood broom. Was she a witch? And then back over here across the way is the sportsman's shop. That's a pretty cool detail and a pretty cool reference to the poet, to the bard. Then over here across the street we have the sportsman's shop, and this edifice right here has always impressed me as the most Wayne Manor looking of the buildings at the EPCOT UK Pavilion, with a lovely fine portrait of Figment in the window for the Festival of the Arts, yes. Architecturally, this building is based off of one of Henry VIII's homes. That's the English king who kept cutting off his wife's head. That is basically a miniature version of Hampton Court Palace, which is pretty awesome. They got that thing pretty dead on, because here's what the real Hampton Court Palace looks like, and now flash back to EPCOT. Yeah, I wish it wasn't dark, but what are you gonna do? Really quick before I forget, next to Anne Hathaway's shop, you have the Queen's Table. These are all basically connected now and selling tea inside. This is more Elizabethan architecture from the 1600s. And by the way, sorry for the noise, but as you can see, the UK Pavilion really rocks. They have cranked up the volume out here tonight. Woo, I had to wait for that cover band to conclude their rocking out. They were rocking a little too hard. It was so loud. So basically you are time traveling through UK history, starting with the Tudor architecture, moving upwards to Elizabethan architecture, and the farther you go down the street, the more and more modern it gets. Like, look at this, the Crown and the Crest over here, or Crown and Crest, I'm sorry. Crown and the Crest sounds like an album title. The Crown and Crest. This would be the 1700s to 1800s, so sort of your 18th century Georgian era architecture. And you keep going down and down and down until finally you turn the corner back out here down by the park, which is now oh so peacefully quiet. And then you start to see Victorian row homes over here. So the kind of thing that Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson would have been hanging out near. Now, we were supposed to get a Mary Poppins dark ride built onto this land. And to be honest with you, these homes right here facing the park do remind me very much of number 17 Cherry Tree Lane. Unfortunately, that never ended up happening. I hope if it ever does get sort of dusted off, pulled out of mothballs, and reinstituted, it's based on the original Mary Poppins. And then this back here, that's going backwards in time just a little bit. For you Jane Austen fans, that's sort of a nod to those great British manor houses from the 17 and 1800s, more modeled after Chatsworth House or Blenheim Palace. Kind of place Mr. Darcy would be hanging out. Now, there are more secrets here, including several pretty good hidden Mickeys if you're into that. As you can see from the clock there, it is getting late. EPCOT is going to be closing soon. And unfortunately, I'm actually running out of batteries at this point. This has taken so long. So I'll just show you one, and then we'll move on to our final country. Right over here, back at the front of the land, where we have the Sportsman's Shop. You remember that's a replica of Hampton Court Palace. Down at the far end, the end facing out to the World Showcase Lagoon, and all the crowds cruising around the World Showcase out here, drinking around the world. The sign for the Sportsman's Shop forms its own sneaky, hidden Mickey out of a football, a rugby ball, and a tennis racket. Of course, to us Americans, that just looks like a soccer ball, a football, and a tennis racket. Because speaking for those of us who grew up in Orange County, California, we have no idea what rugby is. No, over the years I've learned that's not an American football up there on one side. That's supposed to be that weird rugby they're doing out there in old England. Good thing we got rid of the king, man. 1776, baby. All right, I can hear the beautiful sound of bagpipes luring me down to our final country. And it's last call everywhere. People are grabbing their last drinks. All those people drinking around the world on a Friday night. You got the final performance of the best band at EPCOT, but Octon out here. Although maybe I'm a little biased because my dad is Canadian after all. And just beyond that, the Canada Pavilion itself, which as you can see is still undergoing restoration and reconstruction back there. I haven't seen a lot of information on what that construction back there is all about. Either way, most of it's off limits to us at the moment, which is really for our benefit because I am literally running out of batteries. I'm going out on fumes here, people, but look at this gigantic totem pole right here, right in front of the trading post. We've had so many sporadic hidden Mickeys today, we might as well go out with one more. And this one is just such an oldie but a goodie. Look way, way up there, way, way up at that totem pole. Look at the side, look right under that top figure's hand. You can see that. To back up just to show you a little more, this guy right here, see that very, very tippy top guy? Basically right underneath his right wrist, if you look up, you will see a hidden Mickey carved into that Native American totem pole. Well, anyway, I think that just about wraps it up. They're about to get started with fireworks out here and the farewell show. I think at the moment it's still Luminous, the symphony of us out there. I'm actually not 100% sure. Dude, if the heat and the crowds didn't have fried me today, covering all those secrets and peering in to all the legends, myth, and lore of each one of the 11 World Country Showcase pavilions out here? I'm actually not sure, dude, because if the heat and crowds didn't befuddle me today, then peering into all the history, mysteries, legends, and lore of each of the 11 World Showcase pavilion countries out here would have fried my brain one way or the other. Ooh, well, I'll tell you, that was one heck of a day. It probably would have been more watchable and heck, more filmable to break it down just country by country, or heck, just doing 5 secrets of the World Showcase at a time or something. But hey, I like a challenge. We've got other adventures coming up ahead of us at EPCOT and beyond. There are so many more here just in the World Showcase, just that I know, much less the ones that I have yet to discover. Plus, we didn't even deal with the old future world. There's a whole other half of EPCOT to explore. And then you think of Disney's Hollywood Studios, the Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom. There's so much to do, so much to see, so much to learn about this place. It's impossible to know it all, but I'd like to hear about what your favorite EPCOT secret is, or your favorite Disney World secret. So if you want to share that with me, just go over to my Instagram, @JustinScarred, 2 R's, scarred, not scared, sorry. Find my last photo of Spaceship Earth on there. And let me know what your favorite Walt Disney World secret is. You know what, if I see it before I leave here, maybe I'll include it in one of our next video adventures. But for now, my friends, as much as I love you, I'm afraid this is all we can do. The battery is literally at 1%. We've done our duty. It's time to go home and sleep well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching all the way to the very end. If you like this video, hey, give us a big thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, the complaint department is, wait a minute, this video is free. What do you have to complain about? Links are down below, all that other stuff. Love you guys, bye-bye. I got a special message just for you, if you've made it this far. Something I don't know, making my way out to the car, and I just felt like saying, I really appreciate every time every one of you watches one of these videos. It's been 11 years, 12 years now. Yeah, holy cow, 12 years, that's insane. And I still genuinely appreciate every single one of you who gives me the time of day and shares these adventures, and especially shares the videos with your friends and your family and stuff like that. It really does mean a lot to me. It was a weird one. I'm frazzled, I'm tired, it was hot, it was crazy, but I was out on a mission and I was not gonna quit until I finished. And it's you that gives me the motivation to keep going forward 12 solid years. And I'm not quitting anytime soon, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for giving me a reason. You know what I mean? All right, that's all I wanted to say. Just appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Go home. Sleep well.